Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Seen Beyond and Through with Monty. Right before you, you are looking at Christopher Scarver. He's the inmate who deleted serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer in 1994. Now, if you're not familiar with this, it went down something like this. Jeffrey Dahmer and another inmate, Jesse Anderson, were assigned along with Christopher Scarver to clean a weight room. This is the weight room at the Columbia Correctional Facility. And what happened is that Christopher stated later that Dahmer was antagonizing the inmates with food that he would make to look like body parts. And he would put ketchup on them to represent blood. And he also stated, too, that he did not like the fact that the vast majority of his victims were black. Now, the other inmate, Jesse Anderson, he murdered his wife and blamed it on two black men. So that's a little feedback as to this particular story. And here's another picture of Christopher Scarver. And here's another one. Now, as you see, there are photos out there of Christopher Scarver that could be used. But I'm making this particular video today because something has caught my attention. Something that is deliberate, that fans of Jeffrey are putting out there. And I want you to see this glaring. Just watch this or look at this and tell me, do you not see something glaring with this particular photo that I'm going to show you? Not that one there. They could have used that one, but this one right here. Do you see that? Do you not see that? That's a height comparison chart. Now, with this height comparison chart, if we were to go back there, there's something that bothered me. See the bottom of that? The bottom of that right there, it says height comparison, I guess it's of Dahmer to his killer. Do you guys not see the blatant racism that is involved with that? In other words, what they're trying to say is that the big black guy killed the smaller white guy. That's what they're trying to say with this right there. Don't let this fool you. This is blatantly done. Here they go again. They put Christopher Scarver in the front. They put Jeffrey Dahmer in the back to make him look smaller. This is deliberately done. See, what you have to understand is that since the Netflix movie, Dahmer has acquired a lot of fans, a lot of sickos out there. The movie just brought out the worst in people. Thank God I didn't watch it. Have no intentions of ever watching that trash. That is basically traumatizing the families all over again. But you can clearly see right here, what is the point of putting their height right there? And other than to show something. And what is the something that you're trying to show? You're trying to show that one of the guys is bigger than the other guy. The bigger guy took out the smaller guy. Are you trying to say it was an unfair fight? Well, Christopher murdered two people. Jeffrey Dahmer was there with his friend, Jesse Anderson. They were all cleaning the weight room. So basically, you could say it was 2 against 1, couldn't you? Or if you want to go this route right here and be this tacky, why don't you compare Jeffrey's height to the 14-year-old victims? He had two 14-year-old victims right here. This is the young man who was returned to Jeffrey Dahmer by the police. He was only 14 years old. This was another 14-year-old right here. He was murdered also by Jeffrey. So two 14-year-olds and a 17-year-old were murdered by Jeffrey. Why don't you compare their height? You can do that. I don't see anywhere where they're talking about how tall they are. But yet you have the nerve because your hero, Jeffrey Dahmer, was taken out by a black guy. You want to do a height comparison. as if to say that somehow it was an unfair advantage. Man, what kind of stuff is that? And these are the unfortunate victims of Dahmer. And some people would hail Christopher Scarver as a hero. I don't think about it in one way or another, to be honest with you. I don't play around with death. I don't. It's just not my place to do that. Jeffrey Dahmer's gone. Jesse Anderson is gone. Christopher Scarver's still alive. What I'm here to talk about the blatant racism that is put before us in terms of measuring their height. When you could have used a lot of pictures of Christopher Scarver and you could have used a lot of pictures of Jeffrey Dahmer that are out there, but for some obvious reason, you chose to use a height comparison to compare and show that one of them was bigger than the other. I guess to show that somehow it was an advantage that one had and a disadvantage that the other had. Well, boo-hoo with that right there, okay? It just to show you that even in death right there, there's still sympathy given to the white guy. Jeffrey Dahmer is still getting sympathy in death. And Christopher Scarver is being vilified because he just happens to be bigger. He's taller. He's 6'3". How tall was Jesse? I mean, what is it? Jeffrey Dahmer, 5'11", so to speak. So, you know what, people? I could give a damn about him being taller or bigger. So what? The deed is done already. And this movie really has brought out just the worst in people. Jeffrey Dahmer fan clubs right there. As I mentioned before, families being traumatized over again. You're going to show the scene where the black lady in the courtroom has a psychotic break. And, you know, as I've told you once before, they put this out there intentionally and deliberately. After 2 years of being under lockdowns where people's mental health is not there, there are going to be people who are going to want to become Jeffrey Dahmer 2.0. There are people out there who realize that for me to be famous, for me to live on in immortality, what I can do is murder some people. And then I'll get a movie made off me about my life, about my murdering streak. I'll become famous just like Jeffrey Dahmer. Terrible idea to remake that movie. Just terrible. And, you know, people, that's all I have to say. So with that, that was another edition of Seeing Beyond and Through with Monty. And I will see you all beyond and through.